Okay, again, my name is Al Romain with Spire Systems, and I'm going to be going through what's new with Spire 3.5. It's been out there for a bit now, and happy to say that it's very, very close the next day or so going into the mainstream release, which means general release for those that are not early adopters. So watch for that. It should be in the next day or so. And today I've got Rick Notman with me as well, because I'm sure there'll be questions that I'm going to have to lean on him for afterwards as well. And then Lorena's online with us as well. So we should be able to hopefully catch any questions you've got. So talk about questions. There's the question panel that you can key those questions into. There's just too many people to take live questions. I think we're pushing close to 300 people that signed up with us today. So key those questions in, and at the end, I will go through all the questions if it's related to this webinar, especially. But if you have other general questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. All right, so that's out of the way. Let's go into Spire 3.5, which I'm in here. I'm going to go over one feature that was introduced in 3.4. You may have seen it already, but I wanted to make sure that people knew about it because it's a new feature inside of Payroll that's for remitting source deductions. And in here, what you can do when you add a new source deduction or calculate one, so it calculates a pay period, and it will actually pull all the data out of the time card records, and then show your gross payroll, your net pay, and how many employees it is. So all the data you need to do to send it to CRA for your payroll. But more than that, you can actually set it up to capture the 10% wage subsidy, and that would be another field that would show up in between here. Unfortunately, I didn't get prepared for it. I just thought of it at the last minute to add this, otherwise I would have had a better example for it. But there is a video online about it. So if you're struggling with calculating that yourself, it's very easy to do here, and it posts it to the correct GL accounts for capturing that 10% wage subsidy. And then every time you do one, it's actually saved, and you get to see all your remittances that you've put in here as well. Okay. All right, so the first one I want to go into is primarily for our US customers, but it is available for Canadian customers as well. Taxes in the US, sales taxes, are very, very complicated, and to be able to calculate them and make sure you're collecting the tax for the correct jurisdiction is complicated. So what you, with a program called Avalara, which is a third-party program, you can have the taxes calculate for you with a service, and they will tell you, well, Spire collects the tax obviously into a GL account for sales tax, but at the end of your reporting period, you basically go to the Avalara website, and they'll tell you exactly how much to pay to each jurisdiction, or they'll take a step further if you wish for more fees, of course, and they will actually manage that for you, and you send them the money, and they'll send out the taxes for you. So first of all, you set it up. If you do want Avalara, you put your account number in here and your license key, your secret key there. I'm using a sandbox environment, so it's not live. You can do that as well, of course. And then manage access. You decide which of the companies you're doing the tax calculation with, and these are companies just based in looking inside your Spire databases. And then once that's set up, there's a bunch of new things inside Spire to show all that, okay, or to utilize all of that. So first of all, what we're going to need to do is go under Edit Sales Taxes. So we go to there it is, looking right in front of it, and add a tax for it. I've created a tax called Avalara Tax, and I've called it tax number 99. Just put the short name there. That's what prints on your invoices and such. Turn on the fact that it's an integrated sales tax provider, so you don't worry about rates or anything like that, whether it's charges, taxes on freight and all that is done by Avalara. So that all gets grayed out. And then you just choose a GL account where it gets posted to. The Avalara Tax Collect is what I've got a GL account called. Okay, done that. So now there's many places inside of Spire to configure it a little bit deeper. So if you go into things like product codes, okay, and I look at, say, supplements, I've got a tax code 500 on here. And if I do a lookup here, these are all of the tax codes. And this is not looking at a database inside Spire right now. It's reaching out on the internet and grabbing all these tax codes that Avalara has available. And then you can search for those and find a particular tax code. And health supplements happens to be 0500 for me. So what that does basically is that the jurisdiction may possibly have a special tax for supplements. So by telling your product code grouping that supplements is a tax 500, no matter what jurisdiction it'll automatically charge tax or not charge it, or a different rate automatically. Okay, same thing under things like well, the customers themselves. So your customers is a special type of customer. So I go into the billing section, and under entity code for sales tax, here I can define whether they're government, whether they're resale, agriculture, things like that. And then the tax codes may or may not change for them, depending on the jurisdiction. So you start to see why this is so complicated, because each of those criterion are different for every type of customer, every type of inventory code, and every location. Okay, so there's other places as well to set that all up. So you got product codes, you got customers, you got inventory, you've got shipping methods, because sometimes shipping is different taxes than other jurisdictions as well. So instead of worrying about in your shipping method code saying there's tax on it or not tax on it, so there's a one setting for Inspire without Avalara, but there's multiple settings because it uses their tables to figure out whether or not it should charge shipping charges on it. Okay, so let's just give an example. I won't go through all the setup. We do have a video online, as like I said, that goes through it in more detail. But if I go now to sales, and I'm going to go to, well, actually, I should show you one thing, because of course, and I've got that written to show you a little later in the presentation. Maybe I'll show you now. Under customers and then customer addresses. Oops, went to my other monitor. Bring that over. Here is all of our customers and all of their ship to locations. So basically, if you sort by country here, and you pick all of these, I won't pick them all, I'll just pick a few, and I want to update their tax codes, because as soon as you switch to Avalara, you want to take it off of tax 1, 2, and 3, or whatever you're using now, and set it all to 99. So I just basically go 99, change them all to Avalara Tax. So there's the Avalara Tax code there, click OK, and it changes all of those highlighted ones to 99. So if you want to do a whole country or a state or a province if you're using it in Canada, you can do that, okay? So now if I sort by tax code as well, I see those are all my different tax codes, okay? I'm gonna look at this customer called ABC123. That's who I've got some samples set up for. So if I go into create a new sales order for them, and I put that ABC123. Okay, you'll see right away at the bottom, it says sales tax, which is what I called the short name, plus there's an asterisk beside it, because at this point, it doesn't know what taxes it should charge. So if I just pick something and put that on there, and I'll sell 12 of them, you still see the tax says 0, but basically, based on where it's being shipped to or from, because sometimes the from makes a difference, then it will charge the correct tax. But on the addresses, for say ship to and elsewhere, I can say validate address, and it pops up and it says the following address was suggested. So I've got it on 2723 Cimarron Street, but Cimarron I've got it, but I've missed the street. Well, with the service that's built into this for Avalara Tax, it will look out and say, well, I think your address is slightly wrong, so should I change it? And I'll say yes. So it adds a street to it. Okay, you can do that in the customer as well. I'm doing just this on the order at this point, but this is just at the order, but you can also go and correct it on your customer level so you don't have to check it each time. Right, so what are the taxes? Well, I can just hit calculate tax, or I can hit save, or I can hit print, because all those functions save the order and check the taxes. So I'll just do a tax breakdown so you can see what it's going to do. So I hit the tax, show tax, went to my other monitor. Oh, there it is. Show tax breakdown, and it says that there's a there's 4 different taxes in this particular location. So 25% or 0.25%, a 1%, a 2.25, and a 6. And it's calculated on the whole amount, which means that freight, which I have down the bottom here, it's including that and it charges on the whole order. So that way, sometimes you might see in here, it'll say a little bit less than the order because it might not charge tax on everything. But that shows you how it's going to pay it, but yet it just says the $4.39 on the bottom, which is the total tax. Okay, then I can invoice that. I'll just pay it by Visa and invoice it. Yeah, of course, it's on my other monitor again. So there it is, the Avalara Tax charge, the $4.39. Click OK, and it will print my invoice. And I won't print that; it just shows the tax on the bottom. But then what you can do later, so let's say, because it says, of course, $4.39, but under sales history, $4.39 for taxes, I can go into this order again. So this is from sales history, multiple monitor thing. And here, again, it shows the $4.39 in tax, but if I show tax breakdown, there's all my taxes that it charged, okay? Now, just to show you one more thing, which is in the Avalara Tax portion itself, let's just go to, add that open. There it is. I'll pop it over to the right screen here, log in. So this is Avalara's website now, where it's sent all the data for what you've done. And there's that order at the top here. You'll see today's date, ABC 123, total amount, taxable amount, and the tax. And if I go into it, it actually shows me exactly what I sold them, line by line by line. The freight gets broken out onto a separate line here, though. But here's where I get my auditing. This is where I get my reports. So like I said, you can either use them to calculate what to pay and you pay them, or you can use a service with them as well. So if you're interested in that, contact your partner and they can put you in touch with Avalara to set up an account with them and be way happier with taxes, especially in the US. All right. Okay, so our next thing we've got, a few little things. We added created by and modified by to the address list. So if you are on, well, especially under customer addresses, but here, addresses. So small thing, but just who created it and when it was created and modified by. So those are just some extra field. We have those in most places, but we've been putting them in more and more places as well. Okay, those of you in Quebec, we added support for the Quebec Health Services Fund. So up under company settings, and wrong monitor again. And I go to payroll, you'll see we get some new fields here. Enter your total payroll, including workers' comp for not reimbursed for the CSST and the amount, and then to use a reduced contribution rate for small and medium businesses. I guess if you're approved for that setting, you can also do that. And then it will calculate that for you. Yeah. All right, next one is the ability to add how a purchase order is totaled. We've had that before, but it was, let's say, where's my purchase orders? So if we go into a PO, there's an issued purchase order, and if I go total by order quantity, it'll show the full amount, but if it's total by received quantity, it shows that amount. So based on how many you've received, so this one's got 500 out of the 206 received. So that way you can, during your receiving process, you can see how much more you are, or how many you're receiving at that point. So if you're doing partial receiving, it's very handy because you want to match it up with a vendor's invoice. Okay. Along those lines, this is a very nice feature. You have a purchase order, and you've done multiple receivings against this particular purchase order, so on different dates, and you've done accounts payable for those different ones. You get an invoice for a partial shipment, you get another invoice for another partial shipment, and so on. We've added a new tab to purchase orders called Accounts Payable. So what you'll notice here is that I've made 4 AP entries to this purchase order. So in here, I've got these 4 amounts, and you'll see that some of them have a balance of 0 because I've actually paid them as well. And I can see that payment right underneath of it. Okay, so there's my amount that I received that day and the amount I paid and the balance on it. Well, this isn't just a view-only situation we've got here. You can actually pay a vendor from in here as well, as long as you got, of course, the access to it in for your particular user code. But I can, take an invoice and make a payment, print a check if I need to, post a review, go to the right bank, print a check on top, sure. Probably go on my other monitor. Yes, it did. There it is, my check. And yes, it did print properly. And now you see that one is paid as well. Okay, so we default to showing all of them, whereas in accounts payable, we default to showing the unpaid ones. We want to make sure you see every single one or every single AP entry for this particular purchase order. So for doing an audit of a long purchase order that gets shipped to over time, very, very handy. Okay, no longer having to run reports or analyze the general ledger. You see everything right here. Okay, after the fact, we also have it in purchase history. So if we go to purchase history here, and I'll sort this by date, should be at the top here somewhere. I did one yesterday. Here it is here. So here's my in purchase history, and I got accounts payable. And again, this is a different one, same vendor, but a different purchase order. And again, I can see that there's 3 invoices, of which one of them remains unpaid. And again, I can pay them right from here. Okay, I can basically do anything in accounts payable, including voiding of checks and putting invoices on hold and all of that, but it's limited to only the payables that pertain to this particular purchase order. Okay. Again, don't forget, put questions in the question pane. If you got any questions of what I've showed so far, both on Avatax or Payroll, Avatax, and this purchase order change, if you got any questions about that, just key them in there. And again, like I said, general questions are fine as well. Okay, we have several changes to serial number and lot number control. Okay, so I'm going to start with, well, I'll just talk about the first one. We've added support to use serialized. We've had support for use serialized costing. So in other words, if you receive a serial number or a lot number, and one item is at $50, and the next one you get is at $53, or even the next one's at $553, the cost of the lot number you sell is what gets posted to the general ledger. All right, so if you have, build custom product, it's especially handy with the same part number, then it'll pull it from the general ledger, and you can pull it from inventory and post to the general ledger at the cost of the particular serial number or particular lot number. And if you, in the past, if you did an adjustment or a transfer, we didn't do that. We just took the average cost, but we had the ability to do transfers and adjustments the same way. And in addition, if you take a return from a customer, and you, even if you didn't sell it to the customer and you return it, if you put a lot number or a serial number on it, you can key the cost on a sales order and it will hit the inventory at that cost. And then again, when you sell that item, it'll get sold at that cost as well. Okay. So other changes. So let's go into inventory. And I'm going to go into part number, this yogurt here. Yep. There we go. So you'll see that we have lot numbers for this particular item. So there's all the lot numbers are available for this particular item. In the old version or previous to 3.5, we just showed you available or not available. It didn't have any, there was a little filter up here, I think up here somewhere, that said, do you want to see everything? Do you want to see just sold, or do you want to see just available? Well, now we have a filter, so you can still do that, of course. So you can say filter, you can say, over here, you can say, I only want to see, committed quantity is not equal 0, or I want to say received, whatever, any filter you want. So you can still do that. But what we're showing you here now, though, is the fact that you have pending receipts, which means I've got a purchase order or an adjustment that I've received the item, but I haven't pushed it to the inventory yet. So I haven't actually hit the post button or the receive button yet, but I've keyed on the purchase order and said, yeah, I've got 500 of them, but I have not actually posted the receiving yet. so we want to know that you need to know that they're coming. So you know that 500 are on the way in, okay? In addition to that, we've also got committed quantities. So these are all these items show that we've got them committed and we've got available. So everything on one screen and very easy to see, okay? Along that lines, okay, so you see that I've got two of these inventory item, or sorry, those lot numbers that don't have an expiration date on them, but they should have. Maybe I received them at the time and I didn't have expiration date on them. I can then highlight those two and I can say update expiration dates and pick a date for them. So let's say it's a year from now, and it hit okay, and it puts those expiry dates on them. Okay. In addition, because we have lot number sell price turned on, and here you may have several different lot numbers that should have different prices, or maybe they should have had all the same prices. Again, you can highlight the ones you want to change, say update sell prices, and put in, say, $1.50 on these ones, and click OK. And those sell prices now, there's those ones I just changed to $1.50. So again, if you're selling things like, I don't know, custom built computers that are all the same part number, but one has a different amount of memory or hard drives or whatever in them, you can pick them by their serial number, and you have a sell price preset on it and a cost price preset on it, okay? Along the lines of expiration dates, we missed those expiration dates. Well, this new version, we have the ability now to say that the expiration date is a required field during receiving of a product. So when you receive a bunch more of these, it puts the date field in front of you, and the date it'll choose by default is the number of days ahead of this date or this field. So if you say it wanted to be 1 year from today, it'll present you with a date of 1 year from today, whereas in the past, it would have been presented at a blank date and expected you to remember to put it in, okay? You can still override that. So let's say you're a few days behind in your receiving and you need it to expire a few days early, you can still change the date it's received at here, but it's just to help you remember to do that, okay? What else we got here? We got export. So if you need to export this list of lot numbers and their various numbers in there, so costs and committed quantities and everything like that, you can hit the export button here, and as you know, in all the rest of Spire, it'll export it in exactly the same layout that you put this screen here, okay? I think probably you've seen this trace button before, but it's a little bit more information now. So if you click on one, you want to actually hit the trace on it. It pops up. Move that over to my other screen. Pops up all the traceability of that particular lot number that I highlighted, and it tells you that we received 6,000 on this particular purchase order. We sold 50 of them on that sales history. It gone into sales history and so on. But I can hit here and hit open related, and it pops open the purchase order that I received them on. I want to know the customer it got sold to, so I hit open related on that one, and there's the customer it got sold to. Then, of course, if you get an audit report or an audit by somebody, whoever does your auditing of your lot numbers, you can then print a lot number trace report, and that again shows you the data in a report that they can walk away with as well, okay? Did I miss anything in lot changes, Rick?
No, I think you got it all. Did you mention that pending is a new column, the pending receipt quantity?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So that pending, that's on whether it's a incoming purchase order or adjustment or.
Yeah, and hasn't been posted yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been posted yet. Yeah.
Did you might want to also mention movement? I think that came in 3.4, but it's useful.
Yeah, true. Let's do that. So movement. This came in 3.4 as well, but again, it's along the lines of auditing your inventory. So this is every single incoming and outgoing transaction to do with this particular part number. So in the past, you had an ability to look at sales, so you can see all this incoming. So that's sales orders. So there's this sales history. So every time I sold them, and this is every time I've received them, and I've got purchase orders in here. But in this movement report, every in and every out, 11,000 in, 100 out, 100 out, 100 out, 1,000 out, 1,200 out, and so on. And I can set filters on this. If I only want to see the sales portions of those, I can do that by saying I only want to see where I've the source is, sales or whatever, so I can see all that as well. Okay. All right, that's that. And of course, you can print a report off on it as well. And you can also export it, which is very handy for doing analysis of your inventory. And yeah, so it's just, if you happen to count an item and you can't figure out why it's out of whack, you can just analyze it a much clearer. Okay, serial. Okay, another one that those of you that have been using the TD bank, TD in their unending wisdom has decided that they don't want to use CPA 1464 file for their EFT. They will, but they don't like to, and there's certain things you can't get by doing so. So now with 3.5, you can go under company and banking and choose the TD 80 byte file format as well, and then fill out all the rest of this information. So this is for both or all three of them that will do all three is payroll EFT, so direct deposit, accounts payable EFT, and also accounts receivable EFT. Those of you are probably not used to seeing AR EFT, but if you ever if you have customers that you take money from on a constant basis for, say, renewals of some kind, like for instance us, we use it for our annual renewals, and it can be just drawn straight out of their bank account with their permission, of course. Okay, to customers and accounts receivable. Let's start at customers. We added some new fields on the list. One is average days to pay. So you can see it from the customer list. And also we added average days to pay, and we added a credit limit. So you see their credit limit and their average days to pay on the column, and we added that as well in accounts receivable. So we've got their credit limit right here and their average days to pay right here. So you can sort your customers by the list. You can see your really bad payers right at the top and your really good payers all the way through. So it's a handy field for working on, because sometimes your best customers aren't the ones that you sell the most to, but the ones that kind of pay quickly as well. And because we also have in the customer list, we have year-to-date gross profit. You add average days to pay along with gross profit, and the ones with the lowest average days to pay and the greatest gross profit are your best customers, not necessarily the ones that buy the most off of you. So okay, we added columns to the to the sales orders. Let's go back to sales with weight and freight. So here is the columns here. There's freight and there's weight. So as long as you have the weight on your inventory, it's not going to help you if you don't. But if you have weight in your inventory, then obviously don't have any. Then it will add that on to this list, and that way, just at a glance, you can see what a particular sales order, how much weight it'll fill up in a truck or so on. Freight is especially handy because a lot of times a salesperson forgets to put the freight on it. Okay, Spire obviously has automatic freight which you can set rules on, so that if you get $50 freight minimum, but if you hit a certain dollar value, it'll drop down or go to zero. So things like that. But a lot of times people just forget freight. And the problem is, after you've invoiced it, to try and add the freight after the fact, the customer's not as understanding. So to set yourself a filter, so I've got one here set up called freight missing. So here's a filter where it says freight is equal to 0. And I've limited the number of columns I've got to see this. So here's all the ones that I want to correct before I print off their invoices. Okay, so I'm going to each one of these. Nice thing is I can go into the first one, go down and put my freight on here, $12, hit next, save it, and there's my next one. And see what happened there. It automatically added freight because I've added a rule after the fact that put the freight on there. So the $5 freight went in there. So that picked that up automatically. and then so on, so forth. So I can, it's very handy for correct mistakes before they actually get out to a customer. So, okay, we're getting close. We have too much more left. Here's, oh, right. Okay, miscellaneous inventory items. So you may not allow this in your Spire, and there is a setting to not allow it. But if somebody just types in blah, 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 and they type in a description of an item, and they put in the quantity, and they put in the price, $400, and because it's a miscellaneous item, they can put in the cost, $200. So the problem with this is, previous to this version, if I posted this, the cost of goods, the inventory, cost of goods would get posted to whatever our default cost of goods account is, but the inventory will get drawn out of your inventory GL account. So it draws down the inventory by $200, but yet an item didn't come out of stock because it's miscellaneous. All right, so I know most people don't allow miscellaneous, but if you do, our new feature we've got under company settings, edit company settings, and it's under sales orders, I believe. So let me show you another feature while I'm here. Let's say I can't remember what settings under. I go at the top and I type in MISC. Yeah, that's not it. It's not the word MISC. Anyway, just a word you need to remember. It's under sales orders. No, of course it's not. It's under general ledger and then special accounts. Ah, great. I don't have access. Huh. Okay. Well, under special accounts, there's a new setting that says miscellaneous inventory, and you pick a GL account for it. That way you can send it to a cost of goods account instead of drawing down from your inventory. That way, because that's one of the main causes of an outage on an inventory is that people using miscellaneous accounts. Now, my suggestion to you is don't use miscellaneous, leave it off, and create yourself a group of non-physical items where you can define the proper GL accounts. So the proper sales account, the proper cost of goods account, and the proper inventory account. And then you can say, I don't know, let's say you're in a hardware store, you can set one up for pipe, you can set one up for electrical, and so on. That way they're drawn out of the proper accounts. Whereas this method we've given you is much better now than just a plain miscellaneous. It's still not perfect. So you're best off to be able to define all those accounts. All right. Okay, here's one that's been asked for a long time. Under edit company settings and under company numbers, okay, decimal precision. So in cost, how many decimals do you want to show there, or in purchase orders and things like that? And in selling, how many decimal points do you want the customer to see? So because a lot of times what happens is you receive inventory and then you have a fractional item and then it comes in at 5 decimals and gets in stock at 5 decimals, or you give a customer a discount, say it's a $5.55 item and you give them 1.2% discount. On the screen it shows out at $5.2567. So what this does now is it rounds it down to 2 decimal places. So when you discount it, it then drops all those trailing decimals off the end of it. So it's something that people have been asking for. I've been selling accounting systems now for years and years, and this is something people have asked for a long time. So I think you'll find that to be handy if you, especially if you use discounts and price matrix. It discounts and price matrix and cost plus and all that. It adheres to that setting as well. Okay. Talk about price matrix. We have a new setting along those same lines. So I go into an item, and if I'm giving margin to our customer, so we sell the item to the customer at a cost plus. So we want to maintain in this case, a 25% margin on this particular part number, or it doesn't have to be part number. It can be a whole group of items like a product code grouping. You can say that all electrical supplies are 25% margin. If our cost goes up, our sell price goes up. If our cost goes down, our sell price goes down. Okay, the problem with a margin on something, again, some people wanted it at, okay, first of all, it will adhere to the rounding that I just showed you just now, but also some of our customers wanted to have that calculated on the current cost, so what you paid for it the last time you purchased it. Others wanted it based on the average cost, so what it averaged. I believe what did we do previous to this, current or average, Rick? I can't remember now.
Both, current and average.
What did we do previous 3.5? The margin was based on current, wasn't it?
I think we had current and average. It's the new thing we added was standard, right?
No, I don't think we had any. No, we didn't have cost method at all. Pretty sure.
Then it would have been current for sure.
Yeah, I was current. I'm sure it was current. So we had half our customers asking for average and half our customers asking for current, and we knew that we changed it from one to the other, we'd make half of them mad and half of them happy. So, and then a few people, not as many, wanted to put the cost as a standard cost. I'm going to explain what standard cost is in just a moment, but basically, you now have the choice. So is it this margin cost plus based on average, is it based on current, or is it placed on standard? So basically you can figure it how you want. And the nice thing is you can actually do this a different costing method on each part number or each product code or even on a customer. See, where it's used a lot is, where cost plus is used a lot is if you're a retailer or maybe a distributor, and you've got some key customers that are also they're dealers of yours, and you give them cost plus. So basically what you can do is you can pick a customer, say this particular customer, and you can say, I want this customer to have a cost plus 20 points off my cost, and I want that cost to be my standard cost. Hit save, and now everything this customer buys from us is going to be at 20% over our standard cost, okay, or whatever you choose. Now let me explain standard cost. Inventory. It's been in Spire for a long time, but a lot of people just don't know what it means. Okay, so I've got my average cost, which you see as grayed out. I cannot change that. That is based on what I've received from my supplier. One caveat to that, and I'll show you in a second. As I receive it or adjust it, and whatever cost I put in there, it averages it based on what's in stock already. Current cost is what I last paid for it, but I can edit this one because especially when I'm first setting up an item, I want to put that cost in. But the caveat I was talking about where you can change the average cost is if, like in this case, I've got 0 on hand, I got 0 committed, 0 back order, so on. So I've never had a stock on this. So I change this to $12, it also changes the average cost to $12 because there's nothing to calculate against. It can just change it, okay? Standard cost, and I think I said, but when I receive product, the current cost will be what I paid for in my last purchase order. So if I bought it from my supplier tomorrow at $11, it will show current cost $11. It's what I last paid for it, okay? That cost gets used on a purchase order when you create a new purchase order. So the purchase order assumes you want to pay, or you're going to pay what you last paid for it, with the exception if you've got vendor pricing on this item. That's under this tab, vendor prices. So from ABC123 or vendor ABC123, you get a particular cost, it'll pull it from there, of course, okay? Standard cost will never change unless you type something into this field. Never changes unless you type something in this field, okay? So by just putting in, what I'm gonna put, whatever type I type into there, then I save that. That standard cost will now show up all over the place, but not used in posting. So if I create a new item, a new order, and I put an item on the order, I should know what I just had, but that's okay. You'll see that I have a standard cost field right here. And that's where it picks up that item from that, that cost from. What's good for is, again, for cost plus selling. So you can say you don't want your fluctuations in cost to affect your cost plus. You want to set it monthly, yearly, however often you do it, and that's what you want to use your cost. Because you may want to build in an overhead into that so that when you sell it to the customer at cost plus, it's not fluctuating constantly. A fluctuating sale price can confuse a customer, because if you receive a bunch of product in today, and he just bought some yesterday, and he comes back today, buys more, the cost is different. Unless they're used to that, they may question it. So you may want to use standard cost for that. Okay. The other thing about standard cost is you can eliminate average and current costs for any user, so they only see standard cost. And for things like overhead and such, you want to base their, they're looking at discounting this order for somebody. They look over at standard cost, and they see that along with overhead, it costs, instead of being $18.39 here, we actually put in, say, a $25 standard cost, because it covers the overhead that we have for, say, storage or whatever else that we want to put on there. Now remember, that's the cost that goes on in the sales history and what the user sees, but in the end, it does post the current cost to the sales history. In fact, in reality, it actually posts all three of these costs to sales history, so you can report on them. So if you do commission reports based on any one of those costs, then you can do that. Okay. All right.
I just double checked, and you were right about the margin. It was based on current cost only before.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So far, I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, wait, I am.
Oh, there.
Oh yeah, they were just pushed behind. All right, I see them. Good. All right. Okay, keep those questions rolling. I got a few things to show you. Let's start with payroll. Back to payroll for a second. Under ROEs, so records of employment, if you create a record of employment for a salaried employee that has no hours, it will automatically calculate based on a normal full-time position to figure out that there's 70 hours in a 2-week period. Those again are still adjustable, but it's quite common that people have a kind of a fixed number of hours. Now, maybe you don't like our calculations of the 70 hours or whatever it has to be, so we make it very easy to change that. So basically you highlight the whole group and you change update hours for selected periods. You say, no, it's 80 hours, click OK, and it populates them all the way through. Because I know that when you're, like, for salaried people, you need the CRA or Service Canada needs those hours, but you haven't been paying them by the hour, so you can just update it that way. Okay. So those were hard button. Codes. Okay. A setting under imports. So sales order imports. In the past, if you had a spreadsheet and you had 3 or 4 orders on it, the first order has an order number in it with order number 67. The next one is order number 68, another one 69. When you import those, they import into Spire as order number 66, 67, and 68, or whatever happened they be. You didn't have a choice. It didn't pick the next order number. It would just do whatever was on the spreadsheet. So some people didn't want that. They wanted to be able to have Spire use the next order number. So now what happens when you do an import and you choose sales orders, you've got a new field called group by. And what you do is you highlight group by along with the field in the spreadsheet called order number. And instead of using that order number off the spreadsheet, it just says, okay, there's these 3 orders are order number 66. When I import them, I'm going to use the next order number in the system, and they will grab whatever the next order number available in the sequence when you do the import. So that's not everybody cares about that, but a lot of people have been asking for it, so we put that in there. We made a couple of tuning things to Postgres to make better use of the Postgres database to make it quicker. I'll talk about Postgres, or not talk about quicker. I should add that 3.6 again is significantly faster. Rick, what areas are that is the speed increased on 3.6?
We did what's called ORM work in inventory, customer sales, and purchases so far.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, so we're doing more and more of that. So you'll see a lot of speed improvements in a lot of areas there.
For
Okay,
the
and the
technical
last.
folks, oh,
Go
sorry, I was
ahead.
just going to say for the technical folks, basically what that means is that we don't go to the database as frequently as we used to. So it used to be that when you were creating a sales order, each time you added a line, there was multiple trips to the database to get information. So what we do now is actually significantly reduce the number of times it has to go to the database. So you tend to see the advantage of that as you get up into larger sales orders. So, 50 lines on a sales order or 100 lines on a purchase order, you'll see some pretty massive improvements in speed.
Good. Okay, the last one I wanted to show you, unless Rick can think of anything else, is under requisitions. So here is a list of everything that's been requisitioned, and you could, create as you know, you can create purchase orders from requisitions. If you want to get in more information on requisitions, there is a video online as well for that under our video page, support and then video. But in the past, you had a reference to the purchase order number that got created, and you got reference to the order number that it came from. But now what you can do is highlight that line. You can see that it came from order number 700035. I can say view target, and it opens up the sales order that created this requisition for the purchase order. So again, if I look over on the side of it, there it is there. My source, that's the purchase order source that it went to is 815. And I can open source from here. We put this in, I think, 3.3, where you can open source from the sales order. But now you can actually, discard. Now I can hit open source from here, and it will open up I did the wrong way around. Here's the source. So there's where the requisition came from, and the target, what purchase order it got sent to. So without having to go in and out of the program, you can see that very, very easily. Okay, that's the presentation. I can't believe I'm actually somewhat on time. We've got time for questions. So I'm going to go into questions. I'm going to start off the top and work my way down. If I can't answer a question, we will find out. And when we send out the information about this webinar, we did record it, so we will get it out to you. And if you've got teammates that you want to share that with, you can go ahead. But I'm going to start at the top of the list of questions. And if at some point you do have to leave us, then you will get a recording of it. But also that way I don't have to worry about going over time. So I wanted to kind of be done by within an hour, but in this case we may go over depending on how many questions. So all right, so I'm gonna start at the top, and okay, the tax program
Can I just jump in? There was one question I think I answered directly, but somebody was asking the question about date formats. And just to clarify, the way Spire works with date formats is that the date format on your workstation is what controls the date format you enter and see in Spire.
Right.
So can you just pop open a sales order?
Yep.
So somebody had pointed out that they're seeing a different date format on your screen than they have on their screen. Right. And that's basically because the date format on that workstation is different. So one of the cool things about Spire is that each workstation can have their own date format. So if you like entering it, MMDDYY, you can have it that way. Somebody using the same Spire database can have it a different way on their workstation if they want to, but it's all driven based on the settings that I was showing you right now.
Yeah, under region. So if you right click on your date on your Windows and you go to adjust time and date and then choose region, then you'll see down here, I've got 2020-07-15. I can go change date format and pick a different short date, and that's what we use. Okay, so you're best off, well, you have to use Aspire. We insist on a 4-digit year. So you at least have to have a 4-digit year, but other way to lay it out is up to you. But okay, so yeah, that's great. Okay, you said the tax program is version 3.4 or just 3.5? Okay, if I said 3.4, that was a mistake. It is definitely in 3.5, not in 3.4. Okay, what about EHT in Ontario? Good question. You know how that? I don't know how that works. So I'll find out about that one.
Right now, I think it's just a straight calculation, which is probably why we haven't heard a whole lot about it. But
Yeah,
But
I think
we could
it's
do
pretty
it.
simple. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay, got a couple of repeats here already. Okay, for sale to a customer, paid. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. Actually, I like this question. For sale to a customer, paid at time of invoice, there's no record in AR, and the invoice does not show payment. How can we quickly find payment details? E.g., a customer comes to return some items, and we need to know immediately how much how the invoice was paid. Okay, so first of all, one of these days, I want to change that so that even if you pay at time of sale, it does hit the accounts receivable module, because there's times when people make mistakes and they accidentally mark it paid. I would love to see that there, and we do have a ticket for it. But that said, to be able to find out how it was paid, oops, I want to go to sales history. Sales history should be up here. I move things around. You can go into the invoice, and you can just click on view transaction, and it'll show that I paid by Visa right there. Okay.
Well, doesn't it? But can't you also just reprint it? Like reprint from there?
Yeah, you can also reprint it. So if you hit print, because you're right, Rick, because some people don't have access to see the general ledger, of course. So if you hit print preview, you'll see down the bottom it says paid by Visa. And if it was a breakdown of multiple payment methods, it'll show that right there as well. That's one of the advantages. If you do to AR and then pay by Visa later, this does not show on there because it's only the ones that are paid at time of sale. Can you control who can update the expiration dates? No, that's whoever can receive inventory can update expiration dates. If you have edit inventory, you can update expiration dates. At this point, anyway, we haven't had a request yet. This is new, so it is possible that if you want to, go ahead and put in a feature request with that with your partner. That may be something that we have to think about. Pending receipt. Does it update from work orders production? Unfortunately, I don't know what that means. So if you want to key, if you want to key that in with more clarification, I will hopefully I can answer it. Lot number costing, doesn't that override the principle of average costing? Okay for serialized, but not so sure about lot numbers. Costing is legitimate since items in a different lots should be considered identical. Well, I agree, but the fact is that lot costing is a much more accurate costing. So every single piece that you receive has a different cost. In the end, if you have 10 lot numbers, you will see that the average cost is still maintained. So you will see an average cost of $5,000 for all of those items, each item. And if you have 10 of them and you sell them out at different costs, and you sell all 10 of them, you will still have a $50,000 cost. Okay, so in the end, it does narrow down to that same average cost once they're all sold, but you're getting a much more accurate cost by being able to sell them. It's kind of even more accurate than, say, FIFO. FIFO will allow you to receive buckets of them, and then it consumes them one at a time. It's kind of like FIFO, where you get to select which bucket it comes from. So yeah.
One thing maybe worth throwing in there too is the one way that could be wrong, we address when you turn it on too. So if you're running in an average cost system and you activate lot costing, there's a transaction that potentially has to take place. So we do that calculation, and then we may end up having to restate costs on existing lots. So turning it on is not a small thing. It's actually easy to do in Spire, but we have to take some action.
Yeah, I think what it does is that it looks at all the costs on each of the lot number, and then it looks at the grand total of how much you got in stock and what the average cost is. And if they're different, it does a journal entry to cost of goods to match it up. So
right.
Yeah. Okay, when can job costing integrate to AP and AAR similar to the way purchasing integrates to AP? We haven't looked at, we haven't added anything to job costing for a while. We've got a few tickets that we will address when we get onto the job cost. Although I do not have a time for that at this point. And again, another question about job costing, about integrating true employee costs to a job cost with overhead and all that. So no, nothing's changed there. Does lot trace work the same from production orders? Yes. So if you consume lot numbers, then it will post it to the tracing, and you'll get all the. So basically, what happens with a lot number? You receive the lot number from a supplier. You may transfer it to another warehouse. You may sell it to a customer. You may return it from a customer. You may consume it in a production order and build another item that has a lot number on it. And when you do the trace, it will give you all those details all the way through it. Okay, can you address the traceability of the receipt as on a production order? Yeah, same question. It's like funny. Same question. 2 people in a row. So question on lot numbers on a sales order. Are you able to force a back order on an item even if the system says you have the goods, i.e. customer orders 500 and you only have 25, but they want 500 or nothing? In 331, I can't force.
That might be, yeah, that's right. I remember that we made a fairly significant change here in that you can now ship commit lot numbers and serial numbers. Or sorry, you're not, how does that go again? You're not required to adhere to the quantities that you have for lot numbers and serial numbers. So you can ship commit them without allocating lot numbers and serial numbers.
Right.
That was 3.4, I think.
Yeah,
so
right.
If I can say that better, basically, the problem people had was if you're selling lot numbers and serial numbers, you don't want Spire to force you to have to pick the serial number or lot number, because you might have to go back into the warehouse and go dig around for it. So what we allow you to do now is force the ship commit so your inventory is accurate, but we won't let you invoice until you actually pick the serial number or the lot number. Right. So for people using serial numbers and lot numbers, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and you can now play with that number too. So you don't, even if you do have stock, the customer wanted 500, but you only have 20, or they want 500 in total, but you're only shipping 25 right now. You can actually ship 25 and not pick the lot number, or pick the lot number. So hopefully that answers your question. How do I have a PO show dollars of amount received? I can receive more than when ordered, but it shows 0. But when I click totals of order quantity, it only shows dollars of what was ordered and not received. Well, that's the change we made. So that you can now see only, if you hit the button, you will see only what you're receiving right now, not what you received in the past. So if you're matching it up to a vendor's invoice, then you can see that total. So
it's a little, if I can just throw in there, it's a little more subtle even than that, because the total you get varies depending on the state of the purchase order. So while you're creating it, it's giving you a total of how much the purchase order is going to be. Right. And then once you go into the receive mode, it switches over its totaling, because the assumption is that what you really care about is reconciling to a vendor invoice. Well, of course, you can toggle back and forth, but it defaults to the one that makes the most sense. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, another I guess job costing really question is, do we have a way to manage holdbacks? We do not at this point. That is definitely one of the things on the list for when we make some changes to job costing. Can you add a status field to a customer address table so we can filter out inactive customers? Also make it dynamic to open the customer would be nice too. We do have a status field, so I'll just show you. If I'm not, so if I go into a customer, I can make them inactive right here. Okay, they have balance. Like, you can't make a customer inactive that owes you money. That would be kind of silly. You never collect. Oh, that one customer owed money too. Try this one. Okay, so you make them inactive, and then Under normal circumstances, they'll disappear from the list. Mine's still here, you'll see, but under user settings, I can decide whether a user is allowed to see active or inactive customers, okay? Or if I don't normally want to see them, but I do want to turn it off and on, I can always come up here and say status is, active and prospects, or maybe without prospects, and then, whoops, I'm going to click the wrong button. Status is active and prospects, and then I can go save default, and then I go back from communication back to customers. I will see that by default, I'm not seeing my inactive customers, but by clicking the filter button, it brings them in, and now I see it again. As soon as I click the filter button again, it takes them back out again. Off and then on to customers. And then it puts inactives off again. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. How can we easily sell a product as a promo Bogo item without allowing the order entry to pick the right or wrong GL account code when invoiced? Well, we don't do Bogo right now, buy one, get one, or buy one, get two, or whatever it happens to be in our price matrix. We do have, if you buy this, you get one of these, but we don't have Bogo. But I'm not sure what you mean by without allowing the order entry, I guess, person to pick the right or wrong GL coding when invoiced. If maybe you mean that there's a GL account showing on the sales order line, so you'll see the inventory, sales, and cost of goods. That is a setting in the users that you can turn that off. So yeah, maybe that answers your question, hopefully. Can you add quantities on sales orders or purchase orders? Have you add quantities on sales orders and purchase orders? I'm not sure what that means, unfortunately. Okay, probably if you want to key that in again, I'll be happy to address it. Can we have AR based on due date rather than age? Some customers have 60-day terms, others have 30-day terms. So I'm guessing you don't mean sorting, I'm guessing you mean the aging. And no, we only have it on invoice date, not on the due date. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's, I think I have heard of that, been asked before. So send a request into your partner as well and get them to add it to the list that something you want. Standard cost equals landed cost, question mark? No, standard cost is a fixed. You type it in. It can be landed cost if that's what you want it to be, because you're keying it in whatever you want to put in there, okay? So they're saying here where landed cost is unit cost times foreign exchange rate plus freight plus packing and any other supplier information. The answer is yes, it can be that if you want it to be, but you are entering that amount in there, okay? And I believe yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to throw a little bit more on standard cost, it's commonly used in manufacturing because the problem is you're building something and you're getting ready to sell it, but you have no idea how much it costs because you're in the process of building it and getting materials and so on. So normally what you do with standard cost is you ascribe a cost based on your best guess of materials, labor, and all that kind of stuff, and then you reconcile after the fact. Like you know what your average cost is eventually. But you're assigning a standard cost, so you know what you're going to start charging margin-wise based on selling price.
Yeah, exactly. I believe we can import standard cost to inventory. So if you want to export your inventory out to a spreadsheet, add all that overhead figures, you can then re-import it with the new standard cost on it. So that can be done on a quarterly, annual basis, however you want. Are we able to attach a PDF of an invoice in AP purchasing to the transaction? You can attach it to the vendor, but not on an AP transaction level, I believe. So here, no, we have it. We can attach it here to the accounts payable, but not to an individual transaction. I believe we actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you do it if you view the transaction? Can you do it there though? To the left, yeah. Yeah,
no.
communication.
Oh yeah. There we go. Yep, you can. So basically, here's the transaction, the invoice that you posted. You can then come into here and add a PDF. So you'd put in the attachment here, browse for it if you want, and select it, and then just have it show here, and you'd be able to basically double click on it later. There is also a third-party app out there that that allows you to scan invoices, or I think you can use your phone or a scanner, and the app will read the vendor's name, I believe it does, and it'll automatically attach them to them and read the amounts and figure out the taxes as well. So if you're interested in that, contact your partner on that as well.
You can just pause here for 1 sec too. One thing worth
Sure.
noting that a lot of people miss, and it's not new to 3.4 or 3.5, is actually, can you pop that back up?
1 sec.
Yep.
We just had a power flicker. If I lose people, I'm sorry, but our lights just flashed off and on. Hopefully we don't lose you, but at least we got through the presentation.
I still got you. So
yeah.
Yeah, just a quick note here. In AR and AP, their customers and vendors have notes or communications, and they also have UDF fields, user-defined fields. But what a lot of people miss is that there's two levels. Like there's a customer level and an AR level and a vendor level and an accounts payable level. So if you just pop up in one of those receivables,
okay.
You'll see, so communications there is actually another form of communications that's not just customer communications. So it's unique to the customer's receivables, and user-defined fields are unique to the customer's representation of receivables as well. So you get another level of these fields if you want them, I guess is what I wanted to point out.
Okay. Good. Next question. Update on web access to Spire for outside employees. No comment. Let's just take it that. No comment. Is there a quick? I'm not, and no comment, not in the negative way. Okay, let's put it that way. Is there a quick way for customers to put customers on hold from the AR screen? I want to put all customers over 60 days on hold. No, there isn't actually. No, you can't filter it from the customer list. You can't filter them. So you'd have to go into accounts receivable and you set a filter for over 60. Wow, my customers are really bad, over 120s. And you would have to go into here and hit open customer and then put them on hold here. Okay, not there, on hold here. And then save it. And then go next by hitting the next button. And then open customer, on hold, save and close, next. So not ideal, but a lot easier than having to figure out who they are first, because at least got a filter set for them. Are there any enhancements to the year-end audit adjusting entries upload function? That I don't know what that means, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Import GL transactions, or?
Yeah, you can certainly import a GL transaction from a spreadsheet. So I know our accountant gives us all the information on a spreadsheet, and I could import them, although I have to proudly say that we just did our Spire year end and it had 2 journal entries on it. So one for depreciation and something else. Maybe that was it. Depreciation, I think. So
unless they potentially mean like integrations to Caseworks or something.
Oh, maybe Caseware, yeah, that's possible. But yeah, if Caseware has a spreadsheet that they export, it can be imported as a journal entry, yes. Okay, we've got still several questions, but we're happy to keep going here. If you do have to leave, then thank you again for joining us today. And hopefully they welcome you back at our next session. So let's go on. The AP transaction date is the same. If in the AP transaction date is the same as the fiscal period, any chance there'll be a separate field for each of these? I think I know what you're getting at here. You want the posting to go into January, but the invoice date to go into February, and the answer is no. Spire is completely date driven. So you cannot use a different date for a transaction compared to what the document or has. So you want the, I've seen it before where you want to date a supplier's invoice for next month, but you'd want to take the expense this month or vice versa. But no, we can't do that. Any reporting upgrades in sales history and the general ledger modules? We've improved a bunch of reports in the GL in the last few versions. We have added a couple of sales reports in the versions too. So have a look at what we've got. We have speed issues in the reconciliation of the GL. I believe we're in 3.3 or 3.4. Any updates on this? Mostly related to accounts that we have many transactions. Is there a change in there, Rick?
Yeah, there was one change to do with a weird scenario where you had like unreconciled transactions, tons of reconciled transactions, then like old unreconciled transactions. And so there might be an improvement there. I don't want to say yes for sure, but I know we did change something there.
Yeah, I think we did actually. Yeah. Okay. Why can you not direct a requisition to a specific warehouse? So I'm requisitioning for an item with warehouse 1, and should only populate onto a PO with warehouse 1 in the header. Oh, I see. So you don't want if you got a PO already issued, you don't want it to go to a PO with another warehouse. The only way around that right now is to turn on the flag in company settings or user settings actually, that basically makes the PO get a brand new PO get created every time you do requisitions, and that way if you make sure you do all the requisitions for one warehouse at the same time, it'll create a new PO for each one of them. So, but that's the only way we do it right now. When you're in inventory, I saw your UDF fields were filled in for commission. How do you import into those fields? At this point, we do not have import into UDFs. It's one of our features that's fairly high on the list that we'd like to get done. So at this point, we do not have import. So
there is a third party that does it though.
Oh, there is? Okay, there's a third party that does it. So contact your partner and we'll find that for you. On payroll, when issuing a check, we cannot see the check number prior to printing a check for the employee. Is there another field that can be added to the payroll columns to include the next check? That's a good idea, actually. I know we do that in accounts payable. We should do that in, because you're about to print a bunch of paychecks and you grab your stack of checks and you don't know what they are. Although you want to, and I suppose you want to pick the starting check number too. So yeah, that is a good idea. I'll make note of that. Question on lot numbers. If a sales order is entered in a selling unit of measure that's available, will the lot numbers match up so that the unit of measure, instead of utilizing the stock unit of measure, i.e. the customers order a box, but the lot numbers show as eaches, so a box of 24s in the sales order is one box, but shows it 24 eaches. Yeah, it'll automatically consume the correct number of lot numbers if there's a conversion factor on it. And then you can set those up to either automatically pick your lot number for you, or you choose it, or choose it oldest to newest. So, okay. And when updating the email addresses for customers, Spire does not have the updated email address rather than remember an old email address. Okay, I'm here. So you invoice somebody for something and it's got an email address on it and it's been posted, and now they change their email address. So you go into customer, you change it, but when you go back to the old invoice, it is using the old email address. That is true. The reason we've done that is because the document is as it was, and if you reprint that invoice to paper, it's going to print whatever it was at the time. So that's the document. I know the argument and I understand the argument, and we do plan on making some changes to our emailing, and that is definitely one of the things that we're going to consider for it. We do want to, basically improve the email engine a lot. And because it's such a big job, we have put off a few enhancements in the email sides of things until we get down to it, but that is definitely one of the things that we want to change on it. So somebody says, I don't see the paid by Visa when I print the invoice. Well, as long as you mark it paid by Visa, and as long as you don't have a custom invoice that doesn't have that on there, all of our stock invoices definitely have the payment method on it, but possibly your custom version doesn't have that. So you may want to talk to your partner about that.
Well, that could be the confusion about what you already mentioned too, about that invoice being paid in accounts receivable.
Right.
That could be the other side of it as well.
Yeah, it could be it too. Yes, exactly. Does Spire have a way to handle mixed currency purchases? Not on one purchase order, no. A purchase order, as a matter of fact, not on one vendor. Every customer and every vendor has a currency, and they can't be changed once they're set for that currency. The only difference in that is that on a purchase order, the accrued amounts are in U.S. or the freight is in base as opposed to the foreign. And I believe duty as well. But you cannot have multiple lines on a PO to be different currencies, or a multiple vendor, or sorry, a single vendor has to be a single currency. Are we able to control who issues a purchase order? I have individuals generate POs from requisition, modifying a PO if necessary, but not able to issue. Yes, there's a setting in user settings under purchase orders and issue that you can take that away from them.
Just an aside there, you can also control whether somebody can unissue a purchase order, and it's sometimes a good idea to turn that off.
Yeah, exactly, because you need a good reason to unissue a purchase order because a vendor may have a copy of it already. What happened to the reprint invoice? Only POS receipt is available. Should be there. Again, it could be some customization in your situation, but if I go to sales history and I pick one and I hit print, I've got invoice and POS receipt. So it's possible that your invoice got edited and the template is on incorrectly on your invoice. So talk to your partner about that. They can fix that for you.
You could also mention there about turning things off through Spire Server admin as well.
Yeah, you can turn off certain reports. So although if this invoice is showing up under the sales module, it'll also show up here. True, it is a single report. So, but yeah, if you do want to turn off reports for people, then it's really easily done now under server administration. So under reports here, not for people, for anybody, for everybody. So if I want to disable that report, I can go in here and toggle the status of it. And what it does is it makes that report and goes into a italicized mode, and it's no longer available to anybody here. So
that can be handy if you're trying to remember what reports to run, and there's 15 reports in a screen and you only want to ever run 2 of them, just disable the rest of them. You're not deleting it, and you can always turn it back on again. You're just making it easier to pick the reports you need.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, will we ever have the history of specific sales orders? Example, if the salesperson makes a quote and the order gets changed to a sales order with small changes, is there a way to go back to see the original quote? No, we do. All we do there is preserve the quote number, but we cannot. Any lines that are deleted or anything like that, we don't preserve that anywhere. If you delete a whole order, we preserve that. Like if somebody deletes an order, it is preserved in a deleted area that you can recover or view.
Maybe that's a good place to mention the suffixing too. For Business Vision users who aren't aware of it, it's a super nice feature. So.
Yeah. So if you got an order and you ship part of it, what'll happen is if you turn on suffixing for orders, it's under company settings, then every order starts with the number plus a -0 at the end. And when you invoice it with back orders, the one that gets left behind is a -1 and everything else is gone off the order. And then if you invoice a second time, -2, -3, -4, it actually goes all the way up to -Z or Z for our American customers. So that's 36 times you can back order. If you need more than that, you need to handle your ordering a little better. But can we get current costs for kitted items in inventory list?
That's been requested. I've seen that request. What they mean is right now, the way kitting works is it automatically calculates your total current cost, your total average cost, and so on. But because it's temporary, it's not listed in the inventory list.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
People are asking for that.
Okay. Good. So we got a ticket for that.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but AR and AP transactions do allow you to enter job costing as just a separate tab on the entry screen. That's a good point. I probably glossed over that question too quickly, but under accounts payable, if I do make an entry here, then I do have the job tab here. So once I put the amounts in, oops. Some people, I'm going to tell you this. Some people ask us, why do we allow you to type characters into the numeric fields? All right. So the reason we allow that, and this is another really cool feature, is if I'm trying to figure out an amount to key in here, let's say, for instance, I've got the subtotal of this particular vendor's invoice. It's $1,000, but I know that GST is going to be added to it, but they haven't shown that to me yet. I can go 1,000 times 1.05, and there it calculates it for me. Every numeric field is a calculator field. You can use you can even use brackets, which is why we allow it. So you can use 12 plus 2 bracket times 12, and we'll calculate the number for you. Okay, so that's why we allow characters to be keyed into there. So the side question, great feature for figuring things out, discounts or whatever you want to do. So you're giving a customer a discount on something, and instead of trying to figure it on your calculator, just type in 100 times 0.8, and they're getting a 20% discount, or the other way around. Yeah, times 0.8. Okay. Anyway, job cost field is here, so you can actually choose a job and post amounts to it. The whole $160 gets posted here. I can say I only want $12 of that to go in here, and I can pick a different job and go through, and the remaining part of that gets put in there, and then I just post it. So if that's what you meant, I apologize for not understanding it. And thankfully, we've got smart partners out there that are watching me do this and correct me. It's always best, it's always great when our partners know more about the program than I do, okay? Because it means they're out there in the trenches installing and helping you implement those. Pending receipt updates from PO. Does it update from production work orders? Pending receipt. Does it update from production work orders? Well, from production orders, you can create requisitions and therefore purchase orders. And then you just do the receiving on your purchase order. It doesn't link back to tell you or do anything to the production order after the fact, but it shows you which production orders it's for so that you can do so. Any executive dashboards available in 3.5? Not at this point, not in 3.5, no. Again, there are third-party products out there that'll do dashboard style information. So have a look at some of those, talk to your partner about that. Okay, not in the customer module, in the address table for the status.
I think that was about putting addresses on hold.
Yeah.
You can put addresses on hold. Maybe that's what that means.
Oh, I see, right. So a ship to address inside of a customer. So if no, we cannot do that easily to put an address on hold. It has to be done inside each customer. Probably the best place for us to do that would be under this customer addresses list. If we had a hold button at the top here, because then we can sort by, shipping addresses and then put them on hold. But okay, now I understand.
Not that it matters much, but you didn't mention about update tax codes, which is new.
I did.
Too. Oh, did you? Okay, good.
Yeah, that's how these 99s got there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Hey, you weren't listening to me.
I was answering the question.
Yeah, I know. It's probably what it was. Dear. I can see vendor in inventory list, but not in sales or sales history. Well, because the vendor has nothing to do with sales or sales history. You can buy a part number from multiple vendors, and it's not necessarily from a particular vendor, so that's why it's not there. If you do always use the same vendor and you've got a primary vendor established, then you could have a customer report written where you just print it off and export it or whatever that included that. But just the primary vendor could be seen there or shown there then. And no, the column can't be added because it's a completely different table which has nothing to do with sales. Your purchase order and sales order is not showing quantities. Now you have only weight added. Your purchase orders and sales orders not showing quantities. Now you only have weight added. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. We do have quantities. If I look inside of a sales order, there's oh, maybe you mean quantities here. So the items in the items tab here, you do see quantities, but on the order side you don't, because this can be a combination of several items inside the part number or inside the sales order. Sorry. So how to add an extra item to a kit while on a sales order in toggle mode. Oh, okay, I'll show you. So we go sales and we sell a kit. Hopefully I have a kit that I can okay, so there's the kit. I'll toggle it. So there's all the items. I can then, if I want to add an item here, I can just hit the plus right in between the kit to add an item into it, or I can go to the end and add one to the here. Note that in 3.4 and above or 3 and above, we have this underneath of every kit and every section of a kit, because this is a it looks like a couple layers there. We now have this row. So if you click here, it's indented and we add to the kit or insert, which if you, like I said earlier, you get below that and you're now off to the left, that's adding a completely new line. We always have this empty, I think it's called a dummy row, isn't it, Rick?
Yep.
That gets put below the kits. So therefore you can add to the end of a kit as much as you want. Now that doesn't update the kit, that doesn't change the master kit, it just does that for this particular sales order.
It's handy. Like the question, if this person's still on 3.3, the issue was that the only option you had before was to insert. So it meant that often you couldn't really put the item you wanted in the kit at the end of the kit. You had to kind of put it at the beginning. Oh, yeah. Or at least it was convenient to do it that way. That dummy row kind of makes it easier.
Yeah, perfect.
And that's true of job headers as well.
Right. Yeah. In sales order, are we able to lock the description column so the description cannot be changed by accident?
Yes.
Can we do the same for purchase order description column? Yes, you can. Under every user, there's a setting. So under edit user settings, I pick L, and I can't remember where it is. I'm going to type DESC and sales orders, edit description. There it is right there. Okay, I can turn that on. Now it looks like I might be wrong about purchase orders. Oh, wait a minute, it's further down, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure we can actually.
Yeah, I think it's just sales orders that we can. So sales order, if you turn that off, then you cannot change the description when you sell it. Purchase orders, I think we didn't put it in there because it's fairly common on a PO side of things to clarify things for your vendor. So I don't believe we have it there. So unless it's called something different, purchase orders.
Yeah, I'm just checking, but I don't think we do. It's not a bad idea though.
No, it's not a bad idea at all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just let your partner know that to send in a feature request for that. Can you create a promo for more than one item at a time? I don't see the ability to do multiple items at a time. That would have to be done with an import. So basically, if you want a promo and price matrix, I'm guessing, then just export your price matrix table out or an inventory selection out and put in the promo and just import them back in again. When can I access the customer account for the sales history? I'm not sure what you mean. So in sales history, right? So you can't. No, you'd have to. Inside sales. If you could do it from the customer and see their sales history from the customer level, but you can't get into the customer's information from the. So in customers, you can get at everything, including accounts receivable, sales history, all that information, but you cannot go from sales history and then have a button to open up a customer, if that's what you meant.
Actually, what he might have meant is you showed a really good example of closed purchase orders and accounts payable. Maybe he means the same thing in sales history, which is, again, not a bad idea.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. To see all the AR entries towards it, if there was any. Yeah, okay, it's not a bad idea at all. Export to Excel from sales history, items not matched if the invoice has discount. It shows the full amount. So you're going to sales history here, and I'm guessing from items, and we've got unit price, right there, which is the discounted price. So that's what was sold for. So we do actually have that. Doesn't match the invoice if it has a discount. So that is the discounted amount, I'm pretty sure.
Unless he means net total discount, maybe.
Well, that would be off. We'd see that off from the invoice side. That would be here if we had it. Maybe that's what you meant. So yeah, I don't see it here. The easier way to find it's here. No, it's here too. Discount. So it is there.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if he's mixing and matching though, because if you're exporting from items, you're not going to see the net total discount, right?
Right. We're just showing the unit price.
Right.
Yeah. So if that's what you mean, then we know we don't. So, but we do have the discount. Oh, the discount is here too. Discount field is here. Let's go, actually. Discount.
I think I know the issue he means, and it's kind of hard to work around it, because if you go from the items, item screen, you're getting the exact rate prices, but you can't get the invoice net total discount. If you go from the invoice screen, you get the invoice net total discount. So you can always get the right answer. You just can't get the right answer apportioned at a detail level if you're using the total discount.
So you're talking about this discount down the bottom of the order then?
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. Okay. When we want to change an order to fulfill from a different warehouse, there's a way to do this other than manually change each line. Oh, I missed that feature.
Oh, that order header.
Right. It's on my list. And I actually glossed right over it. So yes, we do now have in 3.3 the ability to switch warehouses on an order. So you go to the info tab. So here, if I go down here, you see coming from warehouse VA, and I go to the info tab and switch this to the Toronto warehouse. And I now click down here, and now it's pulling from the Toronto warehouse. It used to be you had to switch every time for every single line, but now you can switch the whole order over to a different warehouse. Okay. Well, another thing I missed, we got a ship from on here now too. That is, reason it was added was because of the Avalara Tax situation. Sometimes the tax is calculated on where it shipped from, so you need to see that information. So we've provided that as well. Okay, question is more of, if sales order shows to customer that they ordered one box, the lot number should show one box. But in 3.3, it shows as 24 eaches for lot numbers, but customers are asking, why do they have one box but 24 eaches for lot numbers? Yeah, that's going to be all in the reporting, how you want your form to print, because you can use the conversion factor in the way it prints too, and you could even pick up a description from the lot number, or sorry, from the unit of measure too, because there's unit measure field or code and a unit measure description. So you could pick up that as well, make it less confusing. Hopefully that answers the question. Keeping the same prices in case of follow-up to an order whose warehouse has changed, can we set the pricing automatically stays the same in case or price or different? In the case of Okay, I think I know what you mean here. Is if you change the warehouse on a sales order, then will it keep the pricing from the other warehouse? The answer is no, because we don't. Once you've got the items on the order, we don't change them when you change warehouses. You'd have to go and change each line to the other warehouse. Or you might mean that if you have a customer on an order with pricing on it, or to a certain ship to for a customer with pricing on it, and you change ship tos or change customers, then it recalculates prices. Anything that would cause the system to recheck pricing based on a customer or a warehouse or any kind of discount that would change something based on what you put on the order, like the customer or ship to, is going to recalculate.
You might want to throw in there though user pricing though, right? If you've overridden the price, then a flag gets set and the pricing won't get restated.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is normally what you want, right? If you've changed a price from what the system's presenting you as the price, then we try and preserve that price.
Right. If you have a partial box and a full box, lot number, expiration date, choose the partial if it's shorter expiry date. But the reality for us is that we would rather ship a full box and have the lot number chosen instead of by expiry date. Well, yeah, you can set on an item by item basis. You can set whether you choose the lot number or whether it chooses it for you, and that's done in inventory itself. So if you go to inventory here, and I go to this item, it's set by lot number and it's consumed by choice. So I would have to pick it each time. You can do it by date received, alphanumeric order, or expiration date. So if you want to do it, if you want to choose the item and which lot number, then you set it by consumed by choice. Regarding email issue, Spire will not save the new email address for new invoices when trying to pick up, for instance, contact one was updated, but the updated email still will not show in the email form. We have to copy and paste the new email addresses into the email and send it to field. Well, if you go into a customer, I think I know what you mean. If you go to a customer and I change their email address on contact 3, I've got mine called accounting, and I put a@a.com, then I can choose to hit the button here. It says update orders, and it checks through and says one order got changed. So it changed all my open sales orders to put the new email address in there. But again, we do not change the ones from sales history for reprinting. I wasn't aware of the customer addresses browse. Looks great. What does all the addresses button do? Mine is grayed out and plans for what does all addresses do? Mine's grayed out. What's the plans for a print icon and template on this browse? Well, that grayed out one is because this is the same lookup dialog we use inside of a sales order. So we go sales, and I create a new order, and I go, instead of going to the customer, I go directly to the ship to tab. That's this lookup right here. Whoop, went to the other monitor. I think it did. Yep, buried underneath my GoToMeeting. There it is. So there's that same one. Just 1 second. Sorry, got a frog in my throat. Clear my throat. So this one here is, am I wrong here?
This is tricky. Enter a customer first.
Oh, right, that's right. So Jackson. So Jackson, I know, has got multiple. And then I go look up here. There, the, no.
Sorry, the address. Now do the address lookup.
Oh, now from here. Okay, got it. Right. So now I go all addresses. So what this is, without that button pushed in, I'm only seeing Jackson's 2 locations, but I might want to drop ship this to another one of my customers. So I go all addresses, and I can drop ship now to Sheraton, Greensboro. Okay, so that's what that's there for, and it's grayed out in the list here because it's not applicable, but because it's the same object for lookups that we use elsewhere, it's still there. Okay. When a US purchased item is brought into inventory, is it automatically exchanged into Canadian? Yes. If you use the multi-currency module, you just have to turn that on and then set up your exchange rates. Then it will automatically convert a purchase order into landed costs when it goes in inventory. And if you sell to a customer that is based in US, then you can sell the product and it will convert it automatically into the GL at Canadian landed Canadian's cost. Sorry. I hear that the CEWS is being extended. You build a report that compares the cash accounting method of CEWS reporting. The method reports in the actual cash receipts rather than revenue. I can't figure out more bank debits, but it's not linked to the actual sales invoice. I don't know that what is CEWS again? I can't remember.
Not sure either.
Yeah, we don't have a, yeah, that's the, that's a corporate
kind of COVID relief thing, or?
Yeah, it's a COVID relief thing. The only one we do is a 10% subsidy on payroll, and we don't do any calculation at all. And yeah, so they're asking if we built a report on it. We have not, but I can check to see if there's any plans for that before it's too late. Is there a place for a remittance address in the vendor record? Yes, it is a bit hidden. We definitely want to improve that. But if we go to vendors, then the way it works is you go plus and then tab off of it and it becomes remit to. Weird, I know, we'll change that one day. And then you can put in a remit to address here, name and address here, and then save that. And now that's your remit to. Again, it's go into the vendor. Let me just do it again. Go into a vendor, add a new address, so add plus, tab off of it, automatically becomes remit to, and now that becomes available in accounts payable. Can we merge 2 customers into one with AR? No, we don't have merges on any of our stuff. There is, again, some third-party merging available. Check with your partner to see if that particular one is. I'm not sure about it. Can you have city under sales history items? We don't, but that would be interesting. So you want to go check to see, I suppose, where something got sold to. Yeah, it would be a good idea. Discard. So under sales history, to be able to see the city here. Whoops, under items, to see the city it got sold to. The only thing you could do is you could type in Toronto, and it will not. Oops, Toronto. And there's all items that have the word Toronto in it, including the sales header area. So these are the city they were sold to. Unfortunately, it would also pick up items that have the word Toronto in its description. So if I, same thing here, if I type Vancouver, then I can get items that were sold into Vancouver based on the address. Okay.
This seems like a great example of pivot table use too. You've shown how you can do that with Spire in the past, and there's some good third-party tools that do that as well.
Yeah,
where you want to kind of join together information like city and quantity and province and postal code and zip code and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, there is definitely third-party products out there that'll do all that for you and then graph it and do all kinds of things for you. Hey, getting close to the end. Questions? When we try to find a customer in Calgary using the customer table, it doesn't help because the Calgary customer might be a ship to. We have to rely on the addresses table to see all the customers in Calgary. but the address table shows old inactive customers and addresses that are on hold. My question is, can we please add under the status of the customers are shipped to in the address table so we can filter out? Yeah, we do want to add filters here. So basically my goal next time we revisit this feature is to add in, more into this. So, we did have add filters here. So what we all got here. So yeah, you find a customer in Calgary. So go city contains CAL. So there's all Calgary. Well, not just Calgary, Calhoun as well. So you can put the larger word in there. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure, because I know the person who asked the question is a long-time user, so I would think they would know, but hopefully that answers the question. The other thing too is if any one of our lists don't have the information you want, for sure, pretty well almost for sure you can have a report written on it. Or again, third-party product out there allows you to do joins of tables and then export out in many ways. So,
and even linking Excel directly to the database is not terribly difficult. Like you've shown examples of that in the past, and
yeah. Can we see the totals of quantities at the bottom of a purchase order, the sales order? Yeah, we want to do that. It was on the list to do a while ago, and it proved to be a bit difficult based on the tools we're using, but we've upgraded some of those tools now, so we'll revisit that again. Okay, there's a question directly for Rick in here that you can answer later.
Yeah, I got that.
Got that? Okay. Can we make a transfer from one warehouse to the other according to reorder point and minimum order quantity? No, you'd have to basically have a report on that and then import it as a transfer, which that can be done. And once the import's been set up and the report's been set up, it's pretty easy to do. Okay.
One thing, I don't know if this is a long-standing customer or not, but one thing that's nice about Spire is that you can actually build up adjustments and transfers and save them without having to post them, which was, if you're coming from Business Vision, that was always a pain. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, have a bunch of stuff you'd like to transfer over, save them, and it commits them in the from warehouse and puts them on order in the to warehouse. So, okay, last two questions. Is there a utility to find items where lot table and inventory tables are out of balance? No, you have to be a report, but a report could be derived for that for sure. And that would, and the way lot numbers go to balance with inventory is the main way it happens is that somebody converts an item to being lot controlled while there's stock on hand. It will not match until you turn it back off again, adjust it, and turn it back on again. But a report could easily be done for that. So, how do you get the color filters in various modules? And I've always wondered. Yeah, me too. We're gonna have to do that one day. So right now we have no way of filtering or sorting on a color. We do have a ticket for it. So, if one company needs a custom reports, chances are so do others. Is there a forum where we could share RPT files on? Stephen is not here at the moment, but I know he's working on a customer-facing forum for our users. It's going to be, hopefully all of you have now seen our courses online that we've posted. We've got about 10 or so courses in there now, and the goal is to have pretty well everything done by the end of the summer. Hopefully we'll get that done. They're quite a big lot of work to write a course, but right now GL is the next one being done. It's being written right now. But that same facility in there is going to have a user-facing forum where you can definitely share questions and ideas and those kinds of things. So look forward to that sometime in the very near future. Last question, how did you get the line count on the PO listing? How did you get, okay, so go into purchase orders. Actually, that's a good point. That actually kind of answers a question earlier. Can you see how many lines are on a purchase order? Because there is a column.
Right at the top.
Oh yeah, there it is, line number. So now if I've got a multi-line order, let's see if I can find one that has multi. Discard. Well, let's just go ahead and add one with a kit. Oh, where'd it go? Run away the screen, buried underneath my, I got so much stuff open. Okay. Okay, so there it is, line number. So to answer that question earlier, sales orders and purchase order does have a line number. I was thinking, and of course, what you meant was, can you have a right below a column, can you have a number of lines? But this effectively does the same thing. So now that said, we know we have the ability to resort by part number. So now it goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 because it's out of order. Sort it again, it's opposite alphanumerically, but still out of order here. The third click puts it back into this column, this order column. So click once, click twice, click 3 times. And notice when I click, it has that little sort arrow on the top of this. Click it again, it has a sort arrow pointing downward. Click a third time and there's no sort, and it goes back to what's called natural order, which is what the column number is, okay? So
one thing to throw on the end of that, sales orders and purchase orders are different from everywhere else, though, in that when you reload, we always reload with the entered order. So you can sort this however you like to work on it, but ultimately we always persist the order that the items were entered into the grid. And there's a reason for that, because people want to know that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll show you what's weird here. So like Rick said, if we exit this order and come back, everywhere else in the program, we remember sort orders. Inside orders, we do not, because watch what happens when I add another line underneath here. So I'm going to add a TRICAB, and it just disappeared. Like, where the heck did it go? It's not on the bottom. That's because it put it in alphabetical order by description, and it happens to be second one down. So we need to make sure that we put it back in the natural order when you go into an order, because it does cause some confusion. So, and even today, it happens to me once in a while too, and I go, where? I thought I just entered that item. So. Okay, last question. What I meant is, how do you set filters to have content highlighted in color on your screen?
I think this question just means, how do you change colors?
Okay. So for inventory, you can, and customers, and for vendors, you can change color by just simply going into a customer and changing the color. That would be really gross, but let's do it. So there's that customer in that color now. But you can also group change them. So if you want to go, group change it. Sorry, these aren't customers, these are inventory items. You can group change them and change color as well, same way, and it changes them all. So I go there and there, and then hit save. Then I get the, oh boy. Okay, customers the same way, and vendors the same way. And then in what version did we add color to? Oh, we did 3.5.4 that got released today. We added the vendor color in accounts payable now too. We didn't have that in the past. We had it in receivables and we had it in vendors and customers, but we didn't have it in the accounts payable list. So let's see if I think I've got the latest version on. If I change the color of this vendor and save it. Yeah, accounts payable list now. Whoops. My accounts payable list now shows the color as well. So, okay. Somebody's asking about holdbacks again, but no, we don't do holdbacks at this point. We would like to someday, but we don't at this point. We have multiple colors for multiple companies. No, there's no way to identify a company by color, but the good news is that every single screen that opens up now shows the company name right there. That added in, I think, 3.3 or 3.2 maybe. So it used to be that you open up accounts payable for Alliance Construction in 2 different companies. You had no idea which one of those companies you had opened it for if you had 2 companies open. Because remember that Spire allows multi-windowing, so I can move this over to another monitor and continue on where I'm working, or even shake this and it simulates that I'm moving to another monitor here. And if I had two of them open, didn't know which company it was for. Whereas now we actually put the company name on every single one of our dialogues. And if you highlight it over here, you'll see that same information on here. Okay.
You have
so
to be
that
honest,
helps.
this was done specifically for you, Al.
Exactly. Yeah, I work in multiple, so we put that feature in my assistance.
Do you want to show, somebody's asking about order colors by order type,
okay.
which might have been what they meant initially.
Okay, so under sales orders, I've got multiple types of orders. So purple are standing, quotes are green, things like this, all the things I've got. But where that's set is under edit company settings, and then sequence numbers. And then under sales, you'll see you choose the color. So for each type of order, so standing orders, booking orders, RMAs, work orders, quotes, sales orders can all have a different color on them. So you decide what they are. So that's how they show up there. By default, when you install Spire, there is no color. So when I do my demos, people say, hey, how do you get that purple? So that's how it's done. Can we create a color list that explains what each color means? Nope, because there is no meaning. You decide what the color is. So for some people, red customers mean they're slow payers, or it might mean that they're on hold. You need to have your own internal chart for that. So can it change color for the status on sales orders? Yeah, that's the one I just showed. So the status, sorry, no, you can't. Just type of order, not status. So you're saying open compared to deposit compared to shipped? No. But of course, the beauty is you can always go to filter, and choose status is one of, and I can say shipped. So there's all my shipped orders, and I just go say pre-save. Oh boy, mouth's not working very well anymore. Save as shipped. Oops. Call it shipped. Show it on a module list and column state. Give it to everybody in the company, and then it now becomes another one of my filters that I can set here. So there's all my shipped orders. Helps. I know colors will be nice, but our programmers call those angry fruit salad when there's too many colors, especially when not everybody knows what they mean necessarily. So, all right, we've come to the end of our questions, and we're into 2 hours. We're down quite a few people, but like I said, we have recorded this, so we will send it out to everybody that missed it or would like to watch it again or missed the last bunch of questions. So thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully you take the plunge and move to 3.5.4. Like I said, likely we'll hit mainstream in the next day or so, as long as Rick releases it. But in this morning's chat, it was decided that unless something goes amiss, which not likely to happen at this point, we will put it into mainstream, which means that our users that don't want to go early adopter on a brand new version, they will be prompted to for an upgrade, and your partners will start to call you about getting upgraded. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I look forward to talking about our next one. Oh, and to let you know too, our fall conference dates should be nailed down within the next week or so. Remember, the conference now is remote. We cannot do a in-person conference, unfortunately, this year. So it will be a web session like this, but it'll be a day long. So grouped into different sessions. So
we've got some great content we've been talking about. So yeah,
yeah, we've got some good content coming. You'll be happy to see it. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.